everybody. We'll be live in just one moment. We're crossing the I's, dotting the T's, moving the zeros and ones to where they belong. If you haven't had a chance yet, go tell everybody that we are about to go live and announce 2023's 20 games that are taking home one of or all of, who knows how it's done, the awards, because it's pluralized. I am very excited for Plus One to be hosting this year. We will be back and get going in just 1 second. Afterthought Games, thank you. This music does rule. It is, because I would never ignore the ability to shamelessly self-promote, especially to an audience I don't normally have. You can go to ttrpg.link/hono, that's HONO, to check this out. It's one of the songs for the Wassailing of Claus Manor. My little brother made it. But that's not a game you came here. It's not winning an award tonight, or an awards, either way. We'll be back in just a minute to go live. And we are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. My name is Tony Vicenda. I'm Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP, which is a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard and skincare alchemy in the Bardic College of Content Creation. Our hope and desire is to help amazing designers find great players who love their games, and amazing players find great designers whose games they can love. We do that in a lot of different ways, but we've never done it like this before. This is the first time we're doing this. Kind of. We hosted the awards announcements last year, not outside of the bathroom at PAX Unplugged, but pretty close to it at our booth from PAX Unplugged. This year we're doing something a little bit different because there's a lot that's changed with the awards. We do not run the awards. We do not host the awards. We did submit some things to the awards. I will tell you this now, big spoiler, we didn't win anything. But I am very, very excited to have the team who hosts the awards here, the judges here, to talk about these things. We're a huge fan of helping shout out and helping grow acknowledgement of what happens in the indie spaces. So Nico and I had talked as they were stepping in and starting to take over the awards from Jody Simone, which they'll talk about in a second, about whether it was a good fit. We've had more conversations since then. We may talk about more of that, but you didn't come here to hear any of this or hear me talk at all. You're like, who is this guy? You came here to meet our judges and hear about 20 great games from 2023. With all of that said, I am going to hand things over to Nico to talk a little bit about the awards and orient everybody to what's happening tonight. Really, I don't remember what's at the top of the show. Nico, take it away.
Thank you, Tony. Hello and welcome to the Awards 2023 live stream. My name is Nico McDougall. I use he, they pronouns, and I was the coordinator for this whole endeavor this year, as well as one of the judges for last year's first inaugural The Awards. When I inherited this position from Joe DeSimone as one of the people who was perhaps silly enough to raise their hand when asked if they were interested.
Hold on, Nico. We're having an audio issue. People can hear me, but can't hear your sweet dulcet tones. I'm gonna vamp for just 1 second while we do this, because I can see that your audio thing is not booping or bopping, and that's going to be all of y'all's audio things. So I'm going to hop into here, and we're going to say speakers high definition audio device. We are going to close that now. I am going to see a thing. Take it away, Nico.
All right. Is that better? Is it working?
Yes, all the things are bipping and bopping and booping even. Go ahead.
All right, well, starting over. Welcome, round 2, to the Awards 2023 live stream. My name is Nico MacDougall. I use he, they pronouns. I was the coordinator for the awards this year, as well as one of the judges last year. When I inherited this position from Joe DeSimone as one of the people who, or the person silly enough to raise their hand when asked if they were interested in doing this, I really wanted, my primary goal was to carry through Joe's ethos, one that I've endeavored to adopt myself, make weird shit, make shit weird. Whether we have succeeded at that goal this year, well, only you can be the judge of that. This has been a year of mild growing pains for the awards. More people were interested in being judges, more judges participated, over 1.5 times the number of submissions were received this year, and an untold number of pages were read by all of our judges. These challenges aside, I'm really excited to reveal to you the identities of our hardworking judges, as well as the 20 incredible games that they have collectively selected. There were 11 judges that participated in the awards 2023 this year, selected by me to try to get as broad a perspective as possible on the TTRPG field. We have academics, professional designers, amateur designers, hobby enthusiasts, educators, artists. The list goes on. So here they are, presented in order of appearance tonight, and ending with those who unfortunately could not make it. First, Misha Grifka-Wander is a TTRPG designer by night and an academic by day, though the two often mix as he writes papers about TTRPGs. Originally from Michigan, they have lived all over the eastern US and currently reside in Ohio. He is currently completing the final semester of a PhD in English at Ohio State. Lex Hart is a TTRPG enthusiast. She recently received her bachelor's in interactive narratives for art and writing and loves using games as mediums for storytelling. Recently, Lex has been really into first edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, Doomsday Cults, and the art of Edward Gorey. Aaron Lim is a tabletop game maker and games educator based in Malaysia. His work ranges from boarding card games to story games and tabletop RPGs. Most of his work is self-published at aaronlime.itch.io and crowdfunded through Kickstarter. A. Pischansky is a freelance filmmaker and the co-creator and GM of the actual play Blanket Fort RPG. They love to discover new systems and will always gladly read the rules and explain them to everyone so nobody else has to. They currently live in the south of France, and as such, it is currently 2 a.m., so they will be appearing by video pre-recorded tonight. Tan Xiaohan resides in Singapore and enjoys playing, reading, thinking about, and making TTRPGs. In addition to freelance design and consulting for other games, Xiaohan also creates and self-publishes with the Curious Chimeras, www.curiouschimeras.com, at curiouschimeras.itch.io. When not working on games, they're teaching or researching Asian history, culture, and philosophy. Gina McCran is a freelance screenwriter, games writer, and actual play performer from New York. She is currently working on completing a screenplay for an MFA in screenwriting. Giuliano Roverato is an award-winning game designer from Brazil, best known for the culinary adventure Bacto's Terrifying Cuisine and the RPG Brave Zenith. He loves spending hot summer nights inside dead MMOs. And now, for our 4 judges who were not able to be with us tonight, Nick Butler is a TTRPG designer and the creator of Tiebreaker RPG. Alexander Carneiro is a Brazilian TTRPG designer and academic, creator of the OSR-inspired game Micro Circuits. Roz Leahy is a full-time freelance TTRPG editor and half of Two Rats Press, a queer risograph press operating out of Edinburgh. And Lucas Rolam is a Brazilian TTRPG designer and creator of Mini BX, a, quote, disruption, subversion, or even a profanity against D&D B/X. So, those are our 11 judges. Without further ado, here is that subset of 7 of them to present the winners of the awards 2023.
Hello, I have the honor of presenting the very first one, which is the Wildsea RPG by Felix Isaacs. The Wildsea RPG instantly evokes a fully realized world lived atop the tree canopy. Players play characters who are wild sailors, taking dangerous journeys through the treetops in search of adventure, knowledge, and resources. It has this delightful freedom to it that pirate stories did when I was younger, without the adult baggage of realizing that maybe pirates aren't actually that great in real life. At every stage, the book is designed to be helpful and clear for the reader. It has an overview page that includes both the pitch and the basic mechanics, so anyone can instantly get a feel for what kind of experience they'd be having if they actually sat down to play. And for people who don't have time to read all of the setting material, there's a one-pager of basic concepts, but there's also plenty of great material for those who do have time and interest. And these are just a few of the ways that the book makes it easier to understand the game and to play with people who have varying needs and abilities. There's also an incredible number of character options. They feel unique and vibrant. It's clear that the designer didn't just sort of default into general fantasy archetypes, but actually designed for this world and this story. Similarly, there's also gaps left unfilled so that the players can add their own creations. It feels like an uncommonly generous and warm style of design. It provides much but dictates little. And lastly, I have to mention that the book itself is beautifully produced. There's a ton of gorgeous art throughout, and the layout is clear and well organized. There's a lot of labor and love in this book, and I think players will respond to that.
I get to announce our second winner, which is This Machine Has Meat in It by Bastard Crew. This Machine Has Meat in It falls somewhere between a company manual and a role-playing game. Throwing its players into the all-too-familiar horror of the corporate world, this game takes on work in a way that makes you wonder if maybe you should actually just quit your day job. With a rulebook that reads like a zine, This Machine Has Meat in It crafts a delightfully funny and deeply self-aware world, full of true horrors of our lives like middle management and the human resources floor. Utilizing a simple system of D6s and colored pens, the employees and the manager navigate clues and secrets to ultimately overthrow their oppressive bosses. By including a collection of NPCs, locations, and horrific yet somehow also charming introductory adventure, This Machine Has Meat in It sets up the players for success without giving them a crutch to lean on. The unique character sheets and prompts regarding it is also a complete success, encouraging the employees to scribble on them maniacally. From the concept to the execution, this game is cathartic, terrifying, and ultimately deserving of a glowing performance review.
All right. Our next winner is I Remember You by Tawan. Stones are beautiful things. They might seem simple, but every grain and inclusion, every flaw and imperfection, every dip and rise in shape tells a story of the great forces and spans of time that formed them. And yet we see them and think, oh, that's just some stone, one stone among many, but forming a landscape, a path, a beach. So too with our memories. Every moment we remember seemingly obvious, yet bursting with meaning and connections. Some might be significant, precious gems among a hoard, but without the aggregate, you couldn't form a story, a history, a life. I Remember You is a seemingly simple game, but every word and letter and drawing in it is a stone, carefully placed, just so to invite you to play with stones and memory. I could describe it as elegantly laid out, but that's too simple. It is built like the game it wants you to play, like stones stacked together to form something more. It all comes together to make something beautiful, to connect the world to memories, to people and relationships. I Remember You is a beautiful thing and deserving of an award.
Awesome. And let us, I know number 4 is supposed to be a video. The videos are acting super weird as I try to drop them in. I am going to try to pull it up on the preview for the stream. And if not, we're going to just skip to number 5 while I work on getting that fixed in the back end. Anybody out there watching, my day went sideways and I got to sit down 40 minutes before we went live to start putting stuff together. So super excited about number 4, but I want to make sure we have that judge's voice on stream if possible. So I'm going to try to take it straight from the Google box and see Dropbox and see if it'll work. And if not, we'll pop to the next one and come back around to it. Does that sound good to everybody? Great, because that's the option. Let's see. I've never tried.
Something that has always bothered me about the world of TTRPGs is how few of them are truly accessible to children and teenagers. Cosmosaurus by Diogo Nogueira is the perfect example of how good it can be to keep that audience in mind when making a game. Cosmosaurus is a game of dinosaurs protecting the galaxy and going on missions together to fight bad guys. And guess what? It rules! The flashy design of the layout and the simplicity of the rules, which still include a very well-developed combat mechanic, make it the perfect game to introduce new people to the hobby. It takes you by the hand on things that could be confusing without ever interfering with your creativity. And you get to fight bad guys in space as dinosaurs. What's not to love?
Hey y'all, great news, because none of y'all knew one way or the other. It totally worked. And so let's go ahead. I'm going to real quick now pop over so that people can see the cover of Cosmosaurus, because it is absolutely gorgeous, and I had it up for most of the rest of them. I don't want us to miss out on seeing that beautiful art, but absolutely gorgeous. Super excited by this. When I know, and all of the winners so far, chat's been really excited to hear all the different folks doing it. And I know we do have some folks who are awake all over the world, but I'm really glad that we were able to have some of the judges share their thoughts remotely without having to stay up super late. Who has number 5?
It's me again. I'm presenting Fedora Noir by Caroline Hobbs. It takes a classic genre and uses inventive card-based mechanics to streamline the process of playing through your own noir story. It's a compact game with a stripped-down rule system that lets players get to the story part quickly and without confusion. In alternating between pre-written prompts and player-created vignettes, it keeps the game both keeps story to the noir genre, but also it leaves plenty of room for customization. The setting cards in particular were more diverse than I expected, giving players options to work in a number of noir subgenres, from gothic mystery to a supernatural school story to a futuristic neo-noir. The settings are also evocative, instantly bringing to mind possible stories, and are furnished with characters and settings of their own, given just enough detail to spark ideas but not to overdefine them. Similarly, the mystery itself is built quickly and with input from all the players, using a set of questions that steer players toward the goal without constraining them. I particularly admire the innovation of one player taking the role of the Fedora itself, providing inner monologue for the detective's actions, which is both a fun nod to the genre's campier elements and an opportunity for players to bounce off each other in interesting ways. The game seems easy to play with newbies and game veterans alike. Fedora Noir gives just enough guidance to keep players on track and stay in the genre and tell a self-contained story. And then it doesn't waste any more time getting people to the table. It's snappy, stylish, and welcoming to players.
Hi, hello. And coming up from that, I'll be introducing and discussing my entry for Nexus Fizz Ultra Edition. So I'll be talking quite a bit about Fizz Ultra Edition by Claymore Games, the work of an entire team: P. Everett Dutton, Ripley Cadwell, T.H. Cochran, Back Alley Coalition, and Max Denley. So bear with me for a while. It's going to take a while, right? Because I really like this game. I like this Ultra Edition quite a bit. I like how it plays, feels, runs. It's a core simple rules, 2d6 plus modifiers, inspired by PTPA. But there's a lot of opportunities to lay on more complexity at your own pace. It's like you can just put what you like and you can lay it on. It's easy to introduce to new players, and it's a kind of concept that you can sell easily to prospective play groups, or not at all. It's like, hey, would you like to play this game? No, if not, you don't have to waste any time with it. It has a very strong style of what it wants. It has its own weird niche, and it's not afraid of being its own thing. It's like, we'll be rebellious super spies. What powers do you want? All right, you want plant control, perfect game. You've got it. So on a more personal note, I guess like the concept of Cold War is something that I like to talk about for Fizz. It's like I was born during the tail end of the Cold War and grew up shaped a lot by its stresses and tensions. So I have a bit of a complex relationship with Cold War teamwork, because a lot of it reproduces a lot of lenses and fantasies of, well, Anglo-American power. It's like, turning people into dominoes of like, are you an ally? Are you an adversary? And there's all this like nasty stuff. On the other hand, you also have cool toys, military hardware, espionage toys, Star Wars laser machines in the skies, the space race. It's pretty heady. A lot of ridiculous weapons to surpass Metal Gears and all that. So all that is up in the sky. And when I play Fist, when I think of Fist, all that kind of comes to the backdrop. And I'm also living in Southeast Asia, and I'm from Southeast Asia, a region which is where, you have problems echoing from the Cold War. You have civilians who are slaughtered by death squads backed by Western powers. You have defeated imperialists, war criminals who released scot-free to help new regimes of other victorious imperialist interests. And the Cold War was a period of time where I was kind of like subjected to Hollywood movies with big macho guys throwing knives. Somebody put an M16 in my hand, said I was conscripted, and I was sent off to be a good soldier kid at the end of the Cold War. It's all very Haiti stuff, right? And all that comes to me when I play Fist, when I read Fist, because what does it all have to do with Fist? Fist is about the Cold War, but it doesn't probe the Cold War through the eyes or the hands of establishment. I like how the game isn't pushing you to be some hyper-masculine, stoic, regimental badass or some martini-swinging first-world playboy, as I say. Like, sure, you could make those tropes, you can play those characters if you want, but Fist, again, going back to the weird niche, there's a lot more about being a competent oddball who doesn't necessarily fit into the establishment, an anxious specialist who's emotionally invested in the area expertise. You're playing vulnerable, fragile people who are being subjected by these big systems, right? To go into ridiculous situations as you're trying to save the world on your own terms. Like, the nation state basically of like the Cold War is about recording people, turning people into information and objects. And Fist is kind of like, nope, we're not going to basically go with that straight. Fist subverts that for me because it asks you to have the power fantasy of having cool toys and weird powers and being super spies without asking you to be locked into another power fantasy of dehumanizing systems which says all those cool toys and powers have to be realistic, gritty, they have to belong to some military industrial complex. Is that unrealistic? Is that wish fulfillment? Yeah, it is, but this is TTRPGs, right? This is a business of working with wish fulfillment. The wish twist those wishes and asking us, is a different world possible? Is it possible to create a narrative where you're powerful to resist systemic violence from yourself, maybe for small groups of people around you, through super spy skirmishes, improbable superpowers? Yes, you can, and while it may not change the world on a level that you or I might want, it still manages to make me think, hey, it'd be cool to be your own person, it'd be cool to be weird, it'd be cool to not necessarily be a stooge of like, big leviathans. And maybe, well, that's a really good for a TTRPG to spark little change somewhere inside. And that's over from me. Over to the next.
Oh, the next one. We have to vamp for a second while I move things around again. Nico, why don't you tell us like a little bit more about the judging process for about a minute while I move things around behind the scenes?
Sure. So this year, so we had 333 submissions in the end, which is, again, almost 1.5 times what we had last year with 198. So to try to make things easier on the judges, I end up dividing semi-randomly all of the submissions into groups of 3, and then assigning each judge 2 of those groups. So every judge read 2/3 of the submissions, voted on them, and then after that first round, they basically got to look at, well, they could look at the stuff before, they got to look at the rest of the stuff, everything that got through, and that is what turned into this final list of 20.
Awesome. Love it. Perfect timing. All right, here we go with the next announcement.
So our next winner is Meanwhile in the Subway.
Wait, I got number 8 first, right? Are we on 8? Am I just
Meanwhile in the Subway?
Is that? Oh, am I one ahead?
You might be.
Never mind. Keep on going. That vamping was great, though.
Happy to help.
Meanwhile in the Subway by Colm Martin and Nicholas Fouliot is an RPG setting that can also be played as a standalone game. It describes a surrealist network of subway lines on which strange people travel for equally odd reasons. Excuse me. Laid out as a sprawling double-sided subway map, its form beautifully mirrors its function as a metro-themed game and as a world that is bewildering and chaotic. Suggestions for character creation methods ranging from close your eyes and randomly point at the map, or to throw darts at the map, continue to uphold this tumultuous tone and push a boundary in the concept of what it means to randomly generate. Meanwhile, in the subway is designed and laid out with an efficient compactness in a form that feels in tune with its subject and content. This extends to a consideration of the physicality of the game. It is foldable into that accordion that always seems so impossible to get right once you've unfolded it. This unity of design and purpose is a triumph and a delight.
I'm delighted, speaking of delight, to talk about our next winner, which is Flabbergasted, a comedic role-playing game by Fleur and Claire Scorinto. There are many things that one can say about Flabbergasted, created by the team at Wanderer's Tome, so much so that I kind of don't even really know where to start. From the front cover to the back, this is a game that is rich in world building. The illustrations by Fleur Scorinto are an utter delight to behold and let you know that this is a world that you want to be living in. Set in the Roaring 20s, this game's tagline, a comedic role-playing game, could not be more true, inviting the players to take center stage as their own eccentric, comedic, and altogether delightful archetypes. Flabbergasted is a game that is ready to play from the moment you learn the rules, supplying the game master, lovingly referred to as the director, with the tools to run a game right away, with the charming settings, pre-written campaigns, and supplements that set up everyone to be living their 1920s dreams. This game is an exercise in genre fiction and finding joy in everything. The rulebook itself, unsurprisingly, is funny and arranged both as a physical book and an interactive PDF, which makes it incredibly accessible. It begins by gently holding your hand and then ends standing on the dock, waving farewell with an embroidered handkerchief as you set off on your own wonderful adventure. Rules light and story heavy, this game is made for anyone who's ever wished to live in a world of 1920s societies, misadventures, and lingos.
Oh, I'm muted. I'm very happy to present The Cross Stitch by Ben Mansky. During the judging process, I had one simple rule. I would only vote for adventures, as I believe they are often underrepresented in such awards, and they are pretty much the lifeblood of RPGs. As much as I love systems, it all matters very little without something to play with. Of all the adventures I read, a surprising amount of which were not actually adventures, The Cross Stitch instantly drew me in. Not only for its beautiful graphic design, which is incredibly important for the actual adventure, it's done in a Mork-Borg style, but for its simple, clear premise. It's a time loop adventure. Everyone that has tried to do one or has read one probably came across a lot of problems, especially when we're talking about how you organize this adventure. It's very easy to think about one, but how do you actually present that adventure to other people? I think it's very important, and this book does it in a incredible way that is at first looks very dense, but when I actually try using it, it's surprisingly simple, very light, and I am absolutely stealing that for when I do such an adventure in the future. It is a short, sweet, and elegant book, an adventure you most certainly will remember, and also the only adventure that is getting an award this year.
All right. Next, I am happy to present an award for Beam Saber by Austin Ramsey and team. Editing and page layout by Christine Blight. Final editing by Lauren McManaman. Final layout by Sasha Renault. Cover art by Vincent Patrick. Interior art by Vincent Patrick, Corey McDaniel, Mel Peters, Christine Blight, Atlas Salmon, Imani Kelker, Roberto Zoreda Acaso, Andrew Ferris, Ardal Then, Jess Whitmore, Ben Fleuter, and Sasha Renault. Sensitive reading by Shay Ehrlich, Ray Berry, cartography by Kate Moody, Christine Blight, and an opening story by Austin Walker and microfic by Takuma Okada. Beam Saber is a forged in the dark game about mech pilots trying to survive a world steeped in war. There's no winning this war, and there is no escape from the overarching systems and structures that participate, support, and benefit from it. It's a game that acknowledges the violence of systems that drive war at scale, erasing and flattening the personal and human in service of some greater idea, the faction, the nation, the church, the corporation, the people. And yet it also remembers that it is ultimately people, fragile, tenacious people that bear the brunt of fighting it. Yes, you can pilot a machine of massive power, a symbol of the dehumanization of the participants in war. But ultimately, it's your very human drives and connections that will allow you to survive it. I ran a Beam Saber campaign for 2 years, and I loved every moment of it. I love mechs, right? And in all that time playing, my favorite part of Beam Saber is how it encourages pilots to cut loose together, to hang out with each other and find the humanity beneath the armor. And also to have pesky personal vendettas and rivals that show up from time to time to mess things up. To focus on the petty, warm connections that make us human.
Hi, hello. Up next again, I'll be presenting the next winner, which is Miru, all right, by Hinokoto. So, hi, I'm happy to talk a bit about Miru. It's built as an analog adventure game. It's a joy to read, joy to play for myself. It's a solo TTRPG about killing God, who is a robot controlling AI, to avenge your brother in a sort of pastoral solar punk post-apocalypse, right? And Miru is something I've come to enjoy quite a bit, like solo TTRPGs. Over the last few years of this pandemic, it brings to mind both the feelings of playing with sketch paper, choose your adventure game books as a child, and where some pencils and free time meant I could populate my imagination with realms and experiences of danger and excitement. And as well as playing more recently video games such as roguelike sandboxes, where I can explore large worlds in great detail, learn hidden systems of advancing my skills, and despair losing resources that were done, and feel upset by ambushes and surprise encounters. So to me, Miru skillfully evokes all of these feelings when I read and played it. It's so inspiring for me that I started thinking about, hey, could I turn adventure modules? Could I give it a bit of a Miru treatment to make it one playable like that? The systems are clear and tight with enough freedom to imagine or play differently. The implied post-apocalyptic world is both quaintly charming and terrifying. I like how it is a world which contains both granola bars and village taverns that sit alongside fighting robots to learn new techniques and running away from or hunting AIs. It's a fun world to visit, one that I came back to multiple times when I fell drafted ill multiple times over the past year, but it's a good thing that I have some paper and dice nearby, and I found myself reaching out for pencil, paper, and Miru to chart out yet another little journey to kill God.
Our next winner is Outleers, written by Samantha Lay. It is a solo journaling game following a research assistant attempting to conduct a study under dwindling funds, the looming IRB, and strange events in the lab. It's a game ultimately about the absurd, time jumps, unexplainable phenomena, and ominously cryptic statements, but also about the mundane absurdities of endlessly deep folder structures, scheduling, and potentially awkward things you have to say to the strangers who come in for your study. The recommended use of a tumbling block tower to track how much funding remains is a clever device that captures both the nerve-wracking precariousness of research funding and the strangeness of the game's world. Many times in art and games about science, it focuses on the goals of research, its lofty goals, or the philosophy of it all. But Outliers chooses to instead center its more everyday and personal processes, and it does so by abstracting the science and leaving only the practitioners. The processes can be tedious, mundane, or even bewildering, but Outliers approaches those structures with fanciful compassion for those struggling research assistants.
And I'm presenting a collection of improving exercises by Tim Hutchings. It expands my understanding of what a TTRPG can be. It masquerades beautifully as a completely different kind of book, an instruction manual for drawing, playfully referencing Hutchins' background in fine art. The writing echoes the turn of the century in combination of enthusiasm and formality, which is both entertaining and immersive. The beginning of the book also invites a ritualistic orientation, gathering materials and repeating mantras that prepares the player for open creativity. It also doubles as a genuinely good workbook for practicing drawing, if you happen to want to do that, but it leaves room for those who don't want to draw well or at all. This game is an exciting innovation on solo gaming. It adds focused drawing and a sense of mystery and nuance. For me, this game answers the question of what's different between a solo game and journaling prompts. It's meditative, but I don't know where it's going. I just have to play to find out. and it really does turn into something other than what you think it will be, which I won't spoil. It's a beautiful game, and it's a beautiful art piece. It evokes the sense of excitement and intrigue that finding an old book in a vintage bookstore can. It's a sense of possibility. It's utterly unlike anything else I've seen, and I can't wait to play it again.
I get to talk about our next winner, which is Downtime in Zion, which was written by Ben Lawrence. This game is beyond just another supplementary set of downtime activities. It's a system and a gift to game masters of all sorts, designed to be played in the in-between places during more traditional adventures. This game, written by Ben Lawrence, illustrated by Evelyn Moreau, with layout by Lester B. Portley and editing by Ava Islam, manages to check all the boxes for a successful tabletop RPG while blending seamlessly with practically any other system. Beginning with an introduction to downtime theory, this game doesn't just treat downtime as a thing to get through, but rather equips the players with the tools, as the manual itself points out, to change downtime into the beating heart of a campaign. As a forever game master, work like Downtime in Zion is a gift that keeps on giving. The simple success, mixed success, and failure mechanic is quick to learn and even easier to teach to players. It's witty and intelligently written, specific in its instructions, and versatile in its applications. The layout is simple and clean, and the illustrations absolutely shine thanks to the charming work of Evelyn Moreau. Downtime in Zion is a huge success and necessary for any campaign that struggles to utilize the space in between adventures.
Our next winner is One Breath Left. One Breath Left is co-developed by writer Ian Howard and layout designer Brian Tyrell. It is a solo game in which a player explores abandoned spaceships to recover information about what went wrong. The rulebooks of One Last Breath are laid out in sharp, clean, and blunt layout and copy that quickly illustrates the game's cold and distant setting, in which faraway corporate contractors are just as suffocating as a dwindling air supply. The danger, anxiety, and loneliness of the world is effectively and swiftly communicated with charts detailing yearly average deaths by occupation, inflation rates versus inheritance tax, and types of human connections made over a lifetime. The explorer archetypes draw portraits of potential player characters with a warmth that is imperative in that aforementioned stark distance. The game's systems of building a wreck as you move through strongly demands a constant risk assessment against one's resources, and upholds the anxiety of uncertainty that is core to the themes of the game. It is one that feels especially close and apt to today. The guide and mechanics move in tandem with the desired world building and tone setting of One Breath Left, and it is executed with deftness and precision that feels compassionate for its explorers, even in a world that does not.
All right. This is where I should have had you vamp earlier. That's fine. We're going to hop over to it real quick. And
Eldritch horror, beaches, small town mystery vibes, vintage nostalgia, an entire island of queer people. Moonlight on Roseville Beach has it all. Add to that a well thought out layout with short stories and thematic art, as well as a fresh take on the dice pool mechanic, and what you get is a wonderful cocktail. I was sold on Moonlight on Roseville Beach from the start. The choice of an origin story and a job to create a character felt expansive enough without being overwhelming, and the rest of the mechanics were easy to read, learn, and teach. Letting players decide what risks to take with each dice roll felt like a very strong concept, forcing them to really take into account the consequences of their actions early on, making the pulpy setting a lot more unforgiving and scary by nature. Reading the book never felt confusing or boring and left me with hundreds of new ideas for campaigns and wanting to play immediately, which I think might be the most important thing a TTRPG can do.
Richard should have run his Kickstarter campaign just one day longer so he could have announced being an awards winner. Instead of being $9 off of a really great stretch goal. We won't go into it though. That was great. Let's go to the next award.
Our next award goes to the Electrum Archive Issue 1, written by Emil Bovin. The Electrum Archive Issue 1 is a zine, it's a rulebook, its entire world contained within 70 pages, and boy, it is a delight. The charming sci-fi fantasy world of Orin is brought to life in these pages. The game is thoughtfully developed with unique and intricately woven aesthetic. From the items to the adventure, the Electrum archive feels like stumbling upon an ancient tome of a long-lost civilization. The system itself is crunchy, but never overwhelming, supplying you with tables for equipment, spells, and detailed descriptions of everything from factions to the various lands found in Orin. It's important to note when talking about the Electrum archive, the world is made very tangible thanks to the wonderful illustrations by Emil Bovin, Logan Stahl, Charles Ferguson Avery, and Tom Dwim featured throughout, and the map designed by, again, Emil Bovin. The Electrum archive is dense and rich, like a chocolate cake, or maybe a strange rock guardian carved to look like an insect and then brought to life by glowing spores. This game is strange and wonderful in so many ways, and ultimately so deserving to be played and enjoyed.
All right. The next award goes to Bibliocalypse by Mikhail Godkowski. I'll pay off the the thing that they have here. Game design by Mikhail Godkowski, writing by Mikhail Godkowski, art and layout by Mikhail Godkowski, playtesting Mikhail Godkowski, marketing Mikhail Godkowski, and community management by Mikhail Godkowski. Tabletop RPGs are games about words that inspire, that restrict, that enable. You interpret what a skill or prompt should mean, you glean an NPC's character from their dialogue, or pay attention to the descriptions of places to search for any detail that could help you. Bibliocalypse takes this basic idea and brings it all the way to its extremes. The Forbidden Library setting and word-based mechanics come together to create a fascinating game where everything hinges on words and the letters that form them. As linguists, you live and die based on your vocabulary and your ability to interpret words broadly to get them to apply to the situations you're in. This game is on one and never lets up. It's the perfect encapsulation of having a great concept and building everything in the game to support and enhance it, and is my ideal of what games as expressions of particular ideas can be. It plays with a fundamental building block of tabletop RPGs and asks you to play along with it, to twist words and letters and meanings into play. And I love it for that.
And I'm going to present Saltfish and Almanacs by V. Hendro. Saltfish and Almanacs has the enchanting and wistful vibe of my favorite childhood books. The art and writing evoke a setting that is simultaneously familiar and unknown, and it's easy to tell your stories with your own stories within it. Using character-driven questions to collect goods ensures that even the process of buying and selling wares is a rich and personal journey. There's also a very pleasing tactile component to the physical version of the game, with cards to move around, wagon meeples, and more. The rules ensure that games with fewer players have as much content as games with more players by adding special cards to make up for the lack of additional human input, which is a great feature. Similarly, it's a rare game that provides opportunities for the players to tell a story together while the characters are separate, but still makes it feel like part of a connected whole. Something I especially like is that the entire game, from art to writing, contributes a tone that's really hard to nail down, that's gentle but not completely free of danger or sorrow. Even the font choices reinforce the aesthetic of the game. I feel like I can play with a group of people of any age or maturity, groups of all adults, groups with younger players. It's a game that's just well suited for such a variety of situations and groups of people without compromising uniqueness or vision. I can't think of another game that does exactly what this one does, and that's very impressive in an increasingly diverse and populated hobby.
Awesome. Before we do the last one, because I, as a consummate streamer, know that numbers will plummet as soon as we announce the last one. People will sign up. Plenty of people will stick around for the after party, and I'm very excited about that. I'm going to interject and say a couple things, even though I did not run into this by Nico in advance. So if you don't like what I say, it's all me, and somebody else is hosting this next year. So I just want to really compliment all the judges. Like, I know, you know, I was in conversation with Joe from the time the awards started. For me, there's been a ton of changes, but one of the things that I think I have just loved about this evening, and I hope that chat has enjoyed this also, is actually hearing y'all's passion for this, and for the things that are being said, and for the reasons are doing. That's so obfuscated in so many other awards, like they feel like popularity contests, and there's a level at which like your game has to be well known enough to garner some sort of publication or release. But on this level, the barrier to entry is super low, and the time and dedication and attention and care and concern that y'all are putting into this, I think really has come through in sharing your reflections, and it's what we need more of in this space. So from me as a games writer and publisher and person who talks about games a lot, I appreciate the time and dedication that y'all put into this, because it is not what most other awards processes go through. And I say that as somebody who's now working on the second thing I'll be being a judge for, that I won't talk about right now. I'll talk about later. And it it just matters a lot. It's been really beautiful to just hear y'all share your thoughts. So at least thank you from me also too. So I've been super thrilled to hear all this, and I hope any designer who isn't in the chat tonight, though there have been a ton of them, hears these things and is grateful for the time and attention that y'all and other folks put in, and just that people out there can see that there are people out there who are going to have this response to your game. If you write something and put it out there, you're going to find somebody who cares about your game in this way, even if they don't make it onto an awards show at some point in time. With that said, we've got our last, unless I'm off again, we've got our last winner up and ready to go.
All right, hi. So I'll be presenting the last winner. For the last winner, I would like to present Cyber plus Punk Augmented by Emmanuel Mello. What can I say about this? That I can compress my passions, right? It's a collection of cyberpunk one-shots. It's built in the Forge in the Dark system. Now, I like one-shot games, especially in world settings, which are kind of dystopic or forbiddingly oppressive, because it's like the world's weight is given more heft when you have a bit of a one-shot. It's like, hey, we've got one chance. The world is deadly, corrosive, corrupting. One shot is all we've got. And Cyber plus Punk Augmented kind of hones this one shot down to a laser focus, where characters are carefully, thoughtfully provided with resources and toolkits to solve problems flexibly, and also prompted to consider how to immerse themselves into the operation, the world, the organization is striking for or against. There's a lot of design and thought that goes into the experience of what and how people are meaningfully doing here. The use of glitch dice, clearly expanded questions, and guidelines which evoke and reflect the kind of like thematic setting of the cyberpunk worlds. Physically, the product design is still something that I cannot help but be wowed by. The pamphlet-based fold-out approach is striking and evokes the feeling of, okay, this is a literal ticket to another world. It's like I'm jumping on a train to basically get into some decaying metal city, right? And the various modular options for different styles of games are fashioned as plugins can easily tailor, adapt, or ignore for our own game's needs. Instead, it brings you into the setting with touch shows and inspirations from different genres as appropriate. I feel it's a game I can run or play to feel like I'm in a movie or book with strong themes, solid pacing, rules feeling look of this game instantly whisks me away. So that's it from me.
Awesome. Chad, if you're out there and one of your favorite games by somebody else didn't get named, just give it a shout out in the chat right now. Tell everybody else a game that you love that you saw this year. You can say ones that also won awards, but tell people about some other cool games. Nico, what else do we have?
Yes. Well, that's a wrap for the awards 2023. I will be releasing all of the sort of judges' commentary that you heard tonight on as written down, sort of cleaned up, put out if you want to revisit the ideas. I also want to reiterate what Tony just said, that if there's a game that you really, really like, put it in the chat, put it on Twitter, put it on a blog. That's essentially what we did, but we just did it on a bigger scale. So, we only have as much legitimacy as you give to the 11 random people who judged tonight or this year. You have just as much of a right and taste level and discerning palate to make your own decisions. I hope that you enjoyed what the judges sort of put together for you. I also want to say, speaking of the judges, thank you so much to all the judges, those who participated tonight, those who weren't able to be here for the months and months of work that you have put into it. Speaking as a judge from last year, I know it is no easy task. I also want to thank everyone who is interested in being a judge, everyone who submitted their games. Of course, the wonderful people here at Plus One EXP, Tony very much included.
Less video audio visual issues than the ENnies. That's all I'm saying. The awards,
Yeah.
the awards is killing it. Possibly the best produced awards show of the year, also too, from a streaming standpoint. That is a very low bar.
Many people are saying this. Yeah, so without everyone's contributions, it really cannot be said how much this could not have happened. We could not have pulled this off for a second year. With that said, keep your eyes peeled for an announcement sometime in the next several months about the awards 2024, which I hope to continue coordinating. And of course, make weird shit and make shit weird. Thank you so much for viewing, and congratulations again to the winners.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for being here with us. If you want to find out more about the awards, you are going to head over to theawards.games. You can hit there to follow to get notified when other stuff is happening. Follow things over on all the different social medias and just generally keep an eye out for what is next. Keep on making weird shit. If you want to support us here, feel free. You can do all the different things, follow, like, all that kind of stuff. Go to rpgzine.club if you want to see a bunch of next year's awards nominees. Who knows whether they'll win anything, but a bunch of great games by small creators that we're putting out. Or check out the Wassailing of Claws Manor over at ttrpg.link/ho-no over on Kickstarter right now. It's been great to host the awards this year, and we're looking forward to watching as participants next year when somebody else hosts it.